Hello, you guys. I hope I got this figured out. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. I wanted to do a live, but I don't know how to screen share. I've been trying to figure out this computer, but I'm not doing so well. I need to spend more time playing with it because, I don't really know that much. But anyways, you guys, I'm sorry. I tried to do a live and I looked ridiculous. And I'm making all these crazy faces. But welcome to my new subscribers. Thank you. I'm super excited that I'm getting more subscribers. And I love all the comments too. Thank you for the ones that leave comments. So anyways, you guys, I was listening to this the other night. And I wanted to go through it again. Just, it's just a part of this that I want you to remind you of because it really raised red flags with me and it raised red flags with these police officers, retired investigators, retired law enforcement. And I think if we could look to anybody for some answers, I think it's those kind of people that have the authority to do that and have the wisdom and the knowledge to do that because they've been doing it for years. But anyways, like I was saying, I don't know if you heard me, but I don't know if Candace got a black eye from Don Wells or not. But it seems like they're really getting upset about a lot of things. And
they all have different questions and this and that,
Jeez.
Probably because, many...
Hold on, I'm sorry. So, anyways, it's hard to say with them too because it seems like they're always playing games. But I did hear that Candace had to leave with her friend. And if Don is beating her up, well, Don... I hope you get in trouble, and Candace, you need to leave that. Sorry, SOB, but I have a hard time, you guys, because I don't know who's lying, who's manipulating, and I think that they're both really bad manipulators, in my opinion, okay? I don't really want to get into this whole drama again, Miss Daisy's over there fighting with Smiley and different creators and whatever. Then you got Jody Sue, she has to put in her little input, she has to put that out there. I gotta tell you guys, because this is funny, because sometimes I'll think, well, I wonder what Jody Sue's doing, and I think I should go check her out. And I always laugh because every time I turn her on, she's not saying a word. And it takes her like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes sometimes before she says anything. And it seems like every time I turn her on, she's not saying nothing. So maybe you can see me can you see me in the window? Yeah. But anyways, I look crazy and old. But you guys, she drives me crazy because she does that. And she spends most of her time just looking at the chat, talking to the chat, and to nobody else. But I don't blame her because it's really uncomfortable, you guys, to go live. It really is. So I give people props that they can do that. So I really enjoyed, I shared a video from Benny's about CPS. And Benny really gives it to Don, and he, counteracts everything Don says about CPS, and he's right, you guys. I mean, he's right. So anyways, I thought that was very interesting. It took me a while, but I sat there and watched that thing, and it seemed like, Benny was around there, and he has a lot of information, he was playing the CPS discussion with Cher that Cher had died on, and I'm sorry, but Cher is just as crazy as Miss Daisy. One day share from Voices Behind the Wall, she is friends with Don, defends him in the beginning. Then she don't like him no more. Then she's, believes he's guilty, they're guilty, and then she defends him again. I mean, it's just so, I don't know what they're doing, if it's just for money and views or what it's for, but I think it's ridiculous. And, anyways, and it does seem like Miss Daisy is just doing things for attention so she can get views to her channel, and then she plays games, puts everything on private. And Miss Daisy, I just want you to know that if you keep, striking people for using your content, it's under fair use and copyright laws that you can use a part of people's content. And doing it falsely all the time is going to get you in trouble with your channel, because YouTube doesn't like that. So you better make sure you have a good reason. It's not stealing content. You're showing things live. People are just right with you live. So I don't know. You guys, I try not to get into it too much because it is a lot of dang drama. But what I feel is that the police know already. And I do think their house is tapped. And I do think that they're being watched. And Benny even talked about the Escalade that was seen up there. And now Candace says she's seen these Escalades, a black one and a white one, when CPS showed up. So obviously they were watching their house. So, but Don wants to say that CPS kidnapped his daughter, and his boys. So whatever, Don, So anyways, you guys, so I was just watching this the other night, like I was saying to you, and the red flags just went off on me again, because I'm telling you what, the stuff they said in the beginning, and Steve and Chris go through it. And all credit goes to Chris McDonough at the interview room and Steve Johnson for their input in this. And I just wanted you guys to hear it again to remind you of this part right here. So under fair use, I'm just going to use a portion of his video. So here we go. Listen to this and we'll talk about it.
Many times before, it's always been the parents too, and so or whatever. I'm not sure, but I just knew that she was headed down the road somewhere in somebody's car, and no matter what I was saying, it just wasn't getting through. I just felt like I was just totally lost. I was in shock.
Yeah.
A complete shock.
Now,
all right,
when you got there,
let's hold up there.
Yeah.
So, this is interesting.
Somebody's car.
He, at the end there's a couple things going on in there, but he took the focus off Summer and he turned it to his own emotion. And Chris, quite frankly, I usually don't see this unless the parent has some kind of knowledge or involvement somehow, that they will talk about their own emotion instead of the concern for his daughter. And now he introduced here again that somebody has her, that she's in somebody's car. She's headed down the road somewhere in somebody's car. So it's the abduction theory. But what I expect to go along with that is anger. I expect all these different thoughts about or reasons why he came to that conclusion, because all he's really said is that she's gone, she's in somebody's car, she's headed down the road. Well, what brings you to that? What has gone on in your mind to bring you to that conclusion, to make those words come out of your mouth? He's not giving me that. And what he's really not, also especially not giving us, is that where's the concern for Summer? Are they taking care of her?
Has there ever been a concern for Summer? Sure hasn't been shown. It has not been displayed.
Is she being fed? Is she, does she have her, if they took her, do they take her medications? Do they take her pillow and her dolly and all those comfort things? And if they're treating her good, and oh my gosh, if they're doing anything to her, I swear I'm gonna come unglued. I'm gonna find them. I hope the police get the job done quickly and find her. I'm just not hearing any of those things, and
Yeah.
It's disturbing. It's noticeably missing, and so what he
Well,
did is he did his own emotion instead of of talking about Summer.
Yeah, right. No, and and I've shared this with my YouTube, family here. Is I lost my son, who was 20 years old in 2003, and at the time, Karen and I were at Disneyland when he died in an accident, and I can remember the moment my phone rang. I was standing at the Teacups in Fantasyland or whatever that is over there. And I remember talking to the cop on the phone who said, hey, and he told me, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I didn't believe it. And I cannot tell you to this day how we left Disneyland. Okay? And that was September 3rd, 2003. Okay? I can tell you, though, I didn't believe it. And my biggest questions were all the way to where it happened was what happened? And I needed those confirmation answers from the PD. I didn't know what happened. And I didn't say this happened. Okay? And that struck me the moment he said that. I was like, why are you saying she's been already, kidnapped down the road in a car? How do you know this? Okay. And so that was from a personal measure, on a personal level. And so that did strike me as, it just didn't feel right?
Okay.
When I heard it.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Chris,
keep moving.
Man, that's
Go
a
ahead.
perfect example that parents don't process that quick. Even though it's
right.
being explained to you and they're telling you, you refuse to process. It's very, very difficult for a parent to process and come to that conclusion.
And yet Don and Candace did. Right away.
That's a tragic story, but you just made it's a perfect example of what I've been saying here.
Yeah, and thousands of people probably watching us have had the same experience and have probably measured it, the exact same way. So I thought it was interesting. I'm going to keep moving. You good with that?
Let's go. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, bud.
Describe for me what the scene looked like. What was going on?
Well, the police started coming in and everything, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go take my car and I'm going to go look here and there, and drive around. And I drove, like I say, I was in shock. I didn't know which way to go. So I tried to drive down, and I got down there on the road, and there were these people bringing their trailers in and their four-wheelers, and all of Ben Hill and Beach Creek was just bottlenecked. Traffic jam. Couldn't get nowhere.
Right.
Couldn't go nowhere.
And then what about, now are these all cops or are they search and rescue?
Well, they were mostly police and, volunteers, search and rescue or whatever like that.
Okay.
But I didn't, I probably didn't clarify on the phone, either that she was abducted because I didn't know at the time. But like I say, when I pulled up there, I knew that she was gone. And maybe I didn't communicate that to them like I should have, or what was what I felt. Well, I had a few times. I said she's not here. And I come to that conclusion right away. But
And what brought you to that conclusion? That was pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Pretty quick.
Just knowing her, and that because we tried to scare the heck out of her and let her know, because we do have bears,
right.
And we do, them dogs. Everybody keeps talking about them dogs, but they're the stupidest damn things, and they also will go away for days and then come back. And I don't know where the heck they go, but they'll. And they weren't there that day.
Oh,
they weren't around that day.
Hold up, Chris.
Yeah.
Listen.
All right, so this is a really key statement that he made here. First of all, and I'm just going to back up just a little bit. We have more of the. He expressed his own emotion again. Like I say, it's a referral statement. Like I say, I was in shock. He's really wanting you to believe this. He's selling it,
Yep.
and I can't. That for me, it's just does the opposite. You already told me this, and now you're selling it again. I mean, how many times do you have to beat your feet before we go?
Over
There's
and
a real
over.
problem
He
here.
has to sell it, and so does Candace.
And then more of the she was gone without any explanation or any more detail. But he come to that conclusion right away that she was gone. And so, Chris, you asked a great question. And questions are the catalyst for wonderful answers. And you said, and what brought you to that conclusion? That was pretty quick, right? And so, about her Summer being gone. So it's a great question. So here's what he says. And again, this has a lot of information in here that most professional investigators are going to miss unless they know what to look for. So he says, just knowing her. So he's minimized it already with the just knowing her, no other explanation. But look what happens now. He says, and this because we tried to scare the heck out of her. Okay? So what he's doing here is he's selling this, that he knows her well enough that he doesn't need any other explanation. It's just that because I know her that well, I know my 5-year-old that well, that I just know that she wouldn't leave the yard. So that's how I know that somebody took her. But that is a problem for him. And I know that because now his brain is kind of giving him this a signal that, Don, you better explain this further because they're not going to believe you. And so he explains this without being asked to explain it further. Your question solicited some high sensitivity, high anxiety, an acute need to explain why this is. And so he says, because we tried to scare the heck out of her. Now, he used that word tried. That doesn't mean that they did. That is typical of when they are distancing themselves from commitment to what they're saying. And I go back now to the word just knowing her. That's another little distancing. And so we started out with distancing, and now we have this tried, which he takes himself out of the further from the commitment again. So he's saying that they scared her. They tried to scare her. And if you don't believe me, because we do have bears. So this is really his brain on overload. I need to sell this really bad, that we tried to scare her. And if you don't believe that, you should believe me because we have bears. And then it gets
like
better.
the mountain lion.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, from Barry Morphew. Is that what you're referring to?
Right.
So, you guys, what really impresses me, Steve picked that up right away, and I didn't pick it up right away, but he is distancing himself when he says things about Summer. And he also really, have you guys not felt that from the beginning? That Don is really trying to sell this story. Candace will answer you and tell you this story, but Don is constantly trying to sell to us that Summer was abducted and that she's nowhere near that property. I mean, let's just keep going for a minute.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. So it's the same thing. So I know now that he is feeling a lot of stress. Okay. Your question brought out this high level of stress in him. Look what he does now. He says, and we do, them dogs can lick you so much. Them dogs, they're the stupidest damn things. And they also will go away for days and then come back. I don't know where the heck they go, but they do.
Another
Chris,
selling point.
He described what a habit of the dogs. And you got to ask yourself, why did he take so much time to describe what these dogs normally do, what they could do, to sell you that these dogs are stupid and that they go away? Well, here's why. And after he says all that, he says, and they weren't there that day. That statement, that little sentence came after all that explanation. He laid the groundwork. And so it's a need to persuade you that the dogs weren't there that day, because they can disappear at different times without any reason. He wants you to believe that they weren't there that day. So it's an overt need to sell that. And Chris, that's a huge thing. This whole
Yes,
answer that he gave you to that question that you asked, how you came to that conclusion, it has brought up huge anxiety in Don and this need to persuade you and to sell his story that the dogs weren't there that day. If the dogs weren't there, that's the only way that somebody could have got up to take Summer. The stars had to align and the dogs had to be gone. And that happened. And if you don't believe me that happened, it's because they can lick you so much and they're the stupidest damn things. And because they're stupid, they will go away for days at a time. He's selling it. And so that's a problem. That's a real problem. He is selling the story. And it's a story that he made up it's a story that he told from the beginning. And I think my mind went to that he made it up because of his overt need to sell it. And that's just not right. It's not normal.
Well, and that's interesting because when I pulled up, there were about 4 or 5 dogs that came out of the woods and about 7 or 8 dogs at the top of the hill.
So, I want to talk about this for a minute. I happened to come across a video by Chasing Tracy Ann, Chasing Truth, like her channel is called, I guess, or used to be called. But I don't really watch her because she defends the Wells, and she will blame and she'll suspect anybody else but the Wells, But anyways, I seen this video she did the other day talking about her being up there on the Wells property and how she made it down this trail and she made it down these paths and how somebody could have took Summer out of there and somebody could have been watching and blah, 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 blah. But I'll tell you what, if you think for a moment that Summer would just willingly go with some weirdo out of the yard while she knows her mother and her grandmother are right there, you're crazy too. Because there's no way that she's going to go not fighting and screaming in 2 minutes or even in 10 minutes with her mother and her grandmother outside in the yard. So first we heard it was the basement that she went out of and that the door was locked, and now she went out of the yard and someone took her out of the yard. But I'm just really getting sick of these same old bullcrap stories that Summer could have been taken out of there, snuck out of there. How? Tell me how. That little girl, we already know from Candace and Don that they said she would beat up on her brother. She was the boss of the family. She ran around that church. She was not afraid to run around that church, but she did look at people with suspicion because I seen her in one of the videos. Summer was looking at, I think it was David Dotson acting weird. But I'm just going to say this right now. There is no way that I can possibly see, and neither can these police people see, that they're going to come there in the middle of the afternoon when everybody's home and the dogs are there. Don is lying. Them dogs were always around there, and they chased and barked at anybody that came up there, and they would chase somebody, and they would be barking if somebody took Summer and she was crying, or even if there's no way, he can't sell it to me. But anyways, you guys, I don't buy that story, so any of their story.
So it looks like they run in 2 packs, and it looks like they've bonded in that way. And I caught that right away, being a former dog handler when, in the PD.
Right.
86 to 89, I was a dog handler, as you remember. So I was like, well, that's interesting because, we have to say that all 13 dogs simultaneously, with the universe on schedule, decided to just disappear into the woods, so that this guy had the perfect scenario with no dogs. And then, of course, some of the other, linchpins. But the other piece of that, which I thought was interesting, is every one of those dogs that when I first approached, they were barking their heads off. And then as I got, they became a little more familiar with me and I wasn't making eye contact with them, that dogs that when I first approach.
So the dogs, you think maybe the dogs got, what's your thought on why the dogs weren't there?
I don't know where they go, but there's been times, like I say, they've disappeared for days, and they'll come dragging back all tired and beat up and hungry, and stuff like that. Yeah. We don't know where they go.
When I told Candace she needed a zoo license.
Yeah.
Chris, hold up.
Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. He didn't answer your question. He avoided he avoided the question. And he went totally back to selling this thing about the dogs. So another problem. There's another problem, Chris, and we got to ask, well, why would he want to deflect or avoid this question? And I think it goes back to him needing to sell that story that he told the reporters right from the beginning.
Yep. And why does Don need to sell it?
I'm going to keep going.
When Candace was last one, supposedly.
I know.
So what time did you get there? Do you remember?
Okay, now listen.
Well, they say, it's really strange because I thought it was 5:30, but the 911 call says 6:30, 6:26 is when the first call come in. And that could well be. Sometimes I work till sunset, A lot of times I have been here lately, but
I just discussed this in my video.
But the strange thing of it
from Brandy Gray.
When we went to the Hawkins County to do our lie detectors and everything like that, they took all of our phones.
Now listen.
And then magically, all of our phone records from 3:30 on that day have been deleted.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, me, my wife's, and her mother have all been deleted from 3:30 on.
So they
we gotta talk about this.
Okay, now listen.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear what you thought when you heard this come out of his mouth, because this is a key part of all this right here.
Yeah, well, I know what they did with those phones. You know what they did with those phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they gave them back, personally. I think they're sitting in an evidence locker somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's a CAS team or a data analysis team that is pounding on those, because I've heard that they bought new phones shortly after this at AT&T. Okay, that's my understanding.
And by the way, I think Candace got a new phone, and she's trying to call herself Leroy Brown, but she mentioned that Don's phone wasn't doing right or whatever, or he got a new phone. So I believe Don got a new phone, you guys. He got a new phone. I think they've had quite a few phones. So yeah, that's very suspicious to me.
Well, so here's my perspective on this, and I agree with you 100%. If I was in an investigation like this, and we had reason to take the phones, they're not getting those phones back. That's
Right.
Yeah.
That's evidence. So they would be in an evidence locker. So I'd be hugely surprised if they got those phones back. But what he said was, linguistically, we want to know what the linguistic behavior is here. It's interesting that he totally changed the subject from the time that you're asking about the time and everything, and he went to the lie detector, and then he talked about the phones, and it was unsolicited, and I'm okay with that. If it's going to help the investigation and help bring Summer home. It's just interesting the way he said this. Because what he's doing here is he is he's inferring that the police did something that they shouldn't have done. That the police did something shady but he didn't actually say that. Yeah. So he said, they took all of our phones, and then magically all of our phone records from 3:30 on that day have been deleted. He didn't actually say that the cops deleted that information.
See.
He wants you to
believe
it. He wants you to interpret. This is passive language, meaning he's not saying who deleted that information. He can't bring himself to say that the cops deleted that information, but he is acknowledging that information is missing from 3:30 on that day, and it's on his wife's phone, his phone, and his mother-in-law's phone. All that information is deleted. And it would not surprise me one bit if we had a peek into those phones that are likely sitting in evidence right now, if they deleted records from the hard drive of that phone. It doesn't mean it's deleted from the carrier's records, but it's probably on the hard drive. I think they may have tried to delete some information, some text messages or whatever it is. But he's trying to cast blame on the investigators, but he didn't actually say that. And this is a very common thing for people to do in situations, investigations like this. They will try to steer it, cast doubt, cast blame, parry to some, like you said, this Assad, some other dude. Only in this case, you look at the police, because that information is now missing.
Everyone.
So it's really interesting.
If that investigator did give it back to him, then that guy needs to go to Homicide 101 or Missing Persons 101.
I really hope that didn't happen, because
Me too. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. But you and I both know the technology, so I'm gonna put a bingo card on 50 for that technology to come back. So we'll go there. How about that?
Yeah,
it does come
I'm
back.
with you.
You're gonna add a 50, so we got a bingo for 100.
There we go.
Technology.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
coming back. I bet you that all
so let's
comes
see where
back.
we're headed here. And by the way, I think
From
this one
3:30 on.
where he goes here is really interesting, and I've been waiting to hear your insight on this side here. So
You tell me where you want to stop then. Where?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
And when did they give them to you?
And by the way, for the record, Don is very nice on the phone. He's very polite. He's very thankful, i.e., thanks a lot. I think this is his MO, is, to kind of kill him with kindness and see where it goes. And then when he does, when it doesn't kind of go his way, and I think that this is a good example of what the PD. I mean, the PD are trying to find his daughter, okay? And to your point earlier, and to my observation earlier, and this is just my opinion, they're doing it wrong. Okay? And in fact, he's got these, detectives that he told me about who are going to do it right.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think that's, pretty interesting in of itself. But so, and that's, we're going to see where he's going to go here, and I'll stop it. Or you tell me where to stop before my thought process, if that's
Okay, sounds good.
all right, bud.
They give them back, fairly quickly, but we never even looked at them until about, a week or two ago.
Okay, so this is his communication lifeline.
Yeah.
Finding his daughter, Summer, the lifeline communication to the to the world about, hey, we found her. Okay, but somehow he doesn't look at him for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I have that highlighted, and actually I have, not only we never even looked at it, but I have arrows pointing to the words never and even. Never is one of those words that's often used as a substitute for I didn't, or I did not. It doesn't mean that. But it's often used as a substitute. And then he adds in this even. When I hear that, I never even looked at it. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
That tells me that he likely did know. He did look at it. This is something out of a sales line, a persuasion line. That's what it is. It's persuasion. We never even looked at it. And so he's trying to sell this thing about not knowing that the information was deleted from the phones. And that right there tells me that he likely knew about the information being deleted.
Yep.
Before those phones were even handed over.
Yep. I believe
Well,
they did.
I'm going to go one step further for a second, because he introduces the detectives, not TVI, not FBI, who's looking at those phones, okay? But his detectives.
Yeah.
His detectives ask, right? He goes, we have some detectives that we talk to a lot, and they wanted to know exactly this information. And we all looked, and it was all gone, deleted. So he's had, allegedly, the cops give him the phone back and say, hey, here you go, okay? And he realizes 2 weeks later, after somebody says, hey, we'd like to see that information, and lo and behold, it's all gone. Okay? So, does that mean, so for 2 weeks he didn't text? Not a single text came out of that phone for 2 weeks.
Didn't go on Facebook like he said.
That's
Highly
just my thought.
improbable. Yeah.
Highly improbable. Yep.
He said him and Candace
go ahead.
were on
Go ahead, Steve,
Facebook
I'm
every
sorry.
day.
I was going to say that what you
Looking
brought
for
up about
Summer.
the detectives, I have that all highlighted as well. That is a reason. That is because his persuasion, we never even looked at it until about a week or two ago. That was so weak for him. He had to now give you a reason he had to sell that, and he give you a reason for looking at that, and that was the detectives. So it's one of those areas. He wasn't asked, but yet he gave it. It's an unnecessary persuasion, and so that nails it. That nails it home, right? That hammers it home right there, because he used those detectives as a reason for looking at the phone. And then one other thing, he used the word we. We have some detectives. We talked to a lot, and they wanted to know exactly this information. And we all looked, and it was gone. So it's not just Don looking. He's burying himself. He's associating himself with the crowd here. And, I see that a lot as well. And you know what I'm talking about. Misery loves company. Guilt loves company. People like to bury themselves in the crowd. they won't be noticed as much. It kind of lessens things. It's the little Johnny coming home from school, and teacher says, "Hey, we need to talk." Your teacher called and said you were pulling the girl's hair at school, and Johnny's going to say, "Hey, but Mom, all the boys were pulling the girls' hairs. We were all doing it." And it lessens the guilt, that they feel better about it because everyone's doing it. And so that's exactly what Don's doing here, burying himself in the crowd.
Well, and remember Barry did this, right? Remember
absolutely.
He says we searched the mountains, we searched, this over there, all my buddies, we did this.
Better about it because
there's got to be some sicko hillbilly druggie, drug her off in the woods or something, or somebody put her in her car and took her not too far away or whatever like that. But I'm starting to wonder if it isn't some high-end thing. Maybe somebody's seen her on Facebook, because my wife was always posting stuff on Facebook. It could have been, she could be anywhere. My mind just goes back and forth. I don't have any idea. But I figured kind of that fired.
Hey, listen what he says here.
I'm going to back up just a little bit before we get too much into the weeds of what he said. We lose it. What he said in the beginning here, this answer. By the way, I love the question, and so now he's got to give you this answer. What his thought process, or where do you think she is? So he says, well, at first I thought, it's going to be some sicko hillbilly druggie, drug her off in the woods, or something. And now listen to this. Or somebody put her in her car and took her not too far away.
Remember this.
Chris, he just told us that he thinks who's ever responsible for this is a female.
Wow.
Somebody put her in her car and took her not too far away.
Wow.
He's narrowed this down. That's what's in his head. And Chris, what happens here is the brain works so fast, and that's what makes this work so well, because they can't control this. He would have to talk at a very, very slow rate to control everything that's in his brain. His brain is trying to convey something, his story, his thought process, but it's picking out these pronouns. And pronouns are one of those things that they take absolutely no thought for us to use, because we've been using them since we were old enough to talk. They are some of the first words that we ever say is a pronoun. And we use emotion before we can even talk, that I want, mine, things like that. And so the pronouns are the slipperiest things, and that we call them invisible words sometimes, because they take no thought process. They take no thought process, Chris, and as a result, his brain reached into his vocabulary and it picked out the appropriate word without any thought, and it just threw it out.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the beginning of this and play it again, so everybody can hear it again.
Well, at first I thought, it's got to be some sicko hillbilly druggie, drug her off in the woods or something, or somebody put her in her car and took her.
Wow.
There you go.
Good, man. That's why you're the best, Steve. So when I get to this highlighted area, are you okay if I?
So you see, I told you guys before I believe it was in my last video, I believe they're telling on themselves. I believe they've been telling on themselves. Oh, I put it in a community post. It wasn't a video. But I did tell you guys that I think they are telling on themselves all the time, because the subconscious doesn't even pay attention to it. It just comes out.
If I bounce past that, because she dropped some names, and I don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm almost done here.
So I'll get to the end and stop again, and then you can educate us a little bit more. Here we go.
Or not too far away or whatever like that, but I'm starting to wonder if it isn't some high-end thing. Maybe somebody's seen her on Facebook, because my wife was always posting stuff on Facebook. It could have been, she could be anywhere. I haven't, my mind just goes back and forth. I don't have any idea. But I figured, and that guy I found, he was so damn high on something. It was unbelievable. I don't know. I've never seen him like him.
Was he on?
Okay, so anything else on that one paragraph, Steve, that
No,
help us
this,
with?
what the only thing is there that he gives us a reason. So he gives us another thought that this might be some high-end thing. And I'm so funny. I said no, and now here I have this big explanation of what I do have a thought. What he's doing is he's introducing that there's a possibility that Summer was sold. And
Wow.
Chris, this is disturbing. He's and here's the other thing too. As I'm looking at this and piecing it together, he's casting the onus of this on his wife posting on Facebook. And now the Facebook posting is kind of the side note, but the onus he's putting on Candace, his Summer's mom. And that came in almost the same thought process as him letting that pronoun her slip out, that Summer was in her car. Somebody put her in her car and took her not too far away. By the way, not too far away, that is in direct contradiction of what he's been saying before, because he's been saying that she's way down the road, she's way far away, she's beyond reach, she's gone, and now he's saying that in this context that this female put her in her car and took her not too far away. Chris, we have a problem here. He's contradicting himself. He doesn't even know it, and now he's introducing this another process, totally different, that she could have been sold, and I say totally different, but it could go right along with it, that if she was sold, that this was maybe done at a location that wasn't too far away, which is it's a sick thought. He introduced it. I'm just calling it out, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't like that one either. Let's put that one on the board for sure.
Yeah.
And I love this answer. Where my question is just was it meth? And he answers, I've seen people on this before.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we know.
All right. So the name of this video is Summer Wild's Discussion Live Part 1, the interview room with Chris McDonough, and that is Steve Johnson that's with him, and they're both retired law enforcement. So I recommend, if you haven't seen this, to go watch it, or go watch it again, because it's really good. But I stopped it there because, this is scary, and this is a big red flag to this law enforcement, that he's been around these kind of people and criminals that lie and murderers and all kinds of criminals. And so he knows when they're trying to deflect, and he knows that God is introducing these things, and it is a scary possibility, but it could be what happened. But I have always thought that it was really strange that though Candace was the last one to take a picture of Summer in the vehicle with her, and supposedly she was there with her, the last one, to see her. But yet Don is telling the whole story. Don's trying to sell everything to us. And so I truly believe that law enforcement does think that Don and Candace are guilty. And I truly believe that these law enforcement think that Don and Candace are guilty. And it's my own personal opinion that Don and Candace have done something. And I pray the police are going to be on this pretty soon, because it's really, really bothering me that nothing's being done. Not too much is being done anyways. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I do get sick and tired of the Don and Candace defenders and constantly looking for any other suspects but the ones that are right at the house. And I don't care. I believe that they've probably sold her to someone, and that's just my personal opinion. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. This is just my opinions and nothing else. But when law enforcement thinks it and says it, and when Don was first questioned, he told us that he lost it, and he went out drinking. He lost it because TBI accused him of selling his daughter. And that came out of his mouth. I'm not telling you something that he didn't say, because Don is the one who gave us all this information about maybe Summer being trafficked, maybe her being up in some motel room with some mother effer, remember? And so, yeah, it's really, really scary. And I'm starting to think more and more that could have happened to Summer. So, you don't know. None of us know. But I do believe that this is a very big possibility. Just him saying that, someone put her in her car and took her not too far away from here. That is like an admission of guilt. That is like telling on yourself. That is like your conscience talking when you don't even realize it. And I think they've been doing it all along, you guys. But anyways, I wanted to remind you guys of this. And, if you're starting to be persuaded that maybe these two are, innocent and nothing happened, I just don't think so. But that's just, everybody has a right to their opinion, and you have a right to yours too. And, I don't know. I just wish that they could find Summer Wells and that this would be over with so that she could have some peace and closure. And, people like Daisy I'm sorry, Miss Daisy, but you're playing games on your channel. And, using Summer Wells' mother to bring content to your channel, but not really helping her, not really doing anything to discuss the case. So, you're not doing anything like that. And it's not bringing Summer Wells home any sooner, any closer, nothing that you guys are doing over there. So you don't even really want to talk about Summer, and you even say that. So you're just out to make money. And a lot of these channels well, not a lot of them, but there's a few, believe me. So anyways, you guys.
So he's just kind of dodging it, right?
So, listen, I'll be back on in a couple days, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about this a little bit and remind you of it. And just keep your eyes open and keep your ears open, because I don't know. I always think something, after what's been going on lately, the two of them fighting, I have a feeling something's about to burst. I hope the dam bursts open and Summer's found. And these two are held accountable for whatever they did. I don't know what their part is in it, but I think they both had a big part in her disappearance. So, anyways, I hope everybody has a good weekend. I'll be talking to you sometime this weekend. And thank you again, everybody. I love you. I'm so glad I have all these people. And I'm sorry that it was ridiculous, the live that I tried. It didn't come out right. So forgive me. But anyways, I'll get better. Have a good night, and God bless you. Bye.